Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this, man. Top 10 PlayStation 3 games. Number 10, we have The Wolf Among Us 1. And this game is so important just to the fact that I even have this show, the fact that I'm playing games now, the fact like this got me back into gaming. Fucking my cousin had an Xbox 360 at the time, and he left it over at my house with a copy of The Wolf Among Us, not like for me to play or anything. Like he just bought the copy and he was over at my house and planned on playing it. I don't even know if he ever played it, but I damn sure did. I booted that thing up on the 360, and I was just wowed, man, because I loved the Indigo Prophecy, the Quantic Dream game, and I loved that style of narrative in video games, but there really wasn't a lot of it in the PS2. There wasn't, as far as I know, that was about it for that style of game on the PS2, and I was just blown away booting up The Wolf Among Us to see how far we had come with narratives and the way that they were presented and the choices that you were given, and just these characters, these iconic beloved characters, the Snow Whites and the Beauty and the Beasts, and all their fucked up ass stories that you're having to experience as the town sheriff Bigsby, just such a charming character. And then I shouldn't say charming, he's gruff, but a softy on the inside, but definitely has the beast within as well. So I loved the Wolf Among Us, and I really really hope that Telltale, and that was actually talking about the poll that we put up here, the most important games of 2023. I was actually The Expanse was one that I had wrote down because I started because that was winning for a while. The most important games of 2023 was winning for a while, and so I started preparing that list, and then top 10 games, PS3 games, took it over in the poll. But The Expanse was one that I put on there because that's like, it seems that could be a make or break game for Telltale as a studio, and I hope to God that people support the expanse. That way we can get the Wolf Among Us 2. I really hope we get that damn game, man. It's one of my most anticipated games, period. But we just don't ever hear anything about it. Number 9, Dragon Age Origins. Once again, this is all story here. Everything that is important to me with Dragon Age Origins is in regards to the story, and really the character driven story more than anything. Um, uh, Morgan with her arc with her and her mom, and how that branches into Dragon Age 2, which I I do enjoy too. I enjoy the freedom with like the dialogue decisions and all that shit a lot more in one, not being limited to the three options on the wheel, and then just uh, being allowed to kind of upgrade your dialogue options a lot more in one. It just felt more robust and not as constrained in one as it did in two. And I don't know, I just loved that it allowed you to be slightly more morally ambiguous in one than it did in two. There are great moments in two, and you can kind of throw the two together. But if I had to pick one or the other, I would definitely pick Dragon Age Origins. Number 8, Uncharted 2. Hands down, the best Uncharted game on the PS3, in my opinion. Some of the best moments just in general in the entire series, the train battle with the helicopter. In terms of narrative moments, you have the fucking love triangle kind of going on there with Nate, Chloe, and Elena. It's, I don't know, it's obviously fucking, the scale was drastically improved from one to two. I guess with the success of one financially, a lot more money was going Naughty Dog's way for the development of the sequel, I'm guessing. And you see that more than anything with that opening shot with the train hanging off the cliff, Nate trying to fucking shimmy his way up that train in the snowy locations. It was just like one of the most cinematic moments that we had ever seen in games at the time. It was so impressive on a technical level, and yeah, it was just fucking beautiful. Nothing, I hadn't seen anything else like that in that generation. Number 7, Dead Space 2. I love the original, of course, but I just think the second is an improvement in every way, in my opinion. More location diversity, cleaned up the mechanics across the board, gave you a voice for Isaac. It's just top tier action horror gaming. Dead Space, especially like with kind of the weird cultist Scientology esque angle that they have going on there with the plot, the what is it, like the little daycare section, the creepy, just real creepy vibes there. Hearing like the what is it, the kids' laughter or whatever in the background, fucking eerie section in that game. And yeah, it's more action packed in general than Dead Space 1, I would say. But I don't know, I loved the locations and the location diversity that was on offer for Dead Space 2. Number 6, this is one that might piss some people off. Alpha Protocol, uh Obsidian's spy RPG that was not beloved by many, but man, it I once again talking about decision making, and I know people are going to get tired. Well, being fair, the PS5 top 10 PS5 games, top 10 PS4 games, top 10 PS3 game. These are really the only three generations where I think I'll have any games in my top 10 that offer up any decision making at all, because this is really where decision making started becoming very prominent in the game space. So yeah, I guess you don't really have to worry about hearing me talk about decision making too much for top 10 PS1 and top 10 PS2 if those win the votes. But the decision making on offer with Alpha Protocol was uh, just a step above almost anything else on the market at the time. They really went all in to give you drastically different scenarios that would play out depending on the choices you made, depending on the people you aligned with, and just taking Michael Thornton, being betrayed by the United States government, picking these shady allies, who you're gonna side with, who you're gonna oppose. The stakes are so high. I've talked about it 100 times, but the Batman Dark Knight inspiration for one of the missions, won't spoil it, but the deciding who to save, great setup there with the villain. Yeah, I love Alpha Protocol. I love the goddamn decision making in Alpha Protocol. The email setup. What game offers you a more robust, interesting way to interact with emails than Alpha Protocol? 10 out of 10 fucking email interaction. Number 5, Arkham Asylum. Probably the most important superhero game ever. I don't think that would be hyperbolic. You could maybe say the Neversoft PS1 Spider-Man game, just for introducing the like 3D, kind of the 3D inspiration for what developers would take from that point going forward, kind of. But I would still, you would have to probably say Arkham Asylum would be the most important superhero title ever released. Um, eh, and just from the quality perspective as well, it's insane. It's a fantastic 3D Metroidvania with a great original story, unbelievable recreation of Arkham Asylum. The I think the visuals still hold up to this day, and I say all that and haven't mentioned the fact that it's the most uh, innovative, revolutionary third person melee system that was introduced in games probably ever. The often imitated, never duplicated Arkham Asylum combat system. And the thing is it can kind of be duplicated because it's a simple setup that just flows so well. It's the feeling of the flow in that combat that yeah, it's fucking amazing, man. It's an incredible combat loop with Arkham Asylum that I'm so glad Rocksteady created, because I still to this day in 2023 think it is my favorite combat system, third person combat system, melee combat system in gaming in general. So Coming in at number 4, I struggle with this, man. I really do. I'm still struggling with it. Obviously, Arkham Asylum is more important than this game, but number 4, I'm going with Infamous 2. In terms of moment to moment fun, I don't think I've ever had more fun with a superhero game than Infamous 2. I don't believe so. Um, eh, Arkham Asylum is the most influential superhero game ever. I'll give it that. I love it so much. I truly, truly do. But god damn, man, I loved the feeling of almost feeling like a created character in Infamous 2. Obviously, you have a pre-built character with Cole and you know his set powers, but like you kind of choose the way he plays. You choose the different powers that you're going to focus on, that you're going to utilize, and there's so many on offer. It's just it gives you a ton of variety with gameplay, and I love Infamous 1, but the improvements across the board, like from the visuals, the you know, having this vibrant New Orleans open world to explore and having like real cutscenes in Infamous 2 with characters that presented you actual challenge to the the decisions that you were going to make. Like it wasn't just, okay, yeah, I'm going to pick the bad path because I want to get the bad upgrades, or I want to pick the hero path because I want to get the hero upgrades. Like the characters actually presented you with like complex narrative decisions that you had to make, and sometimes you would lean one way or the other, even if it affected the path that you were going down to upgrade fully evil Cole or fully fucking hero Cole. Like you would kind of make those delineations and go a separate way because you felt more inclined to side with someone from a narrative point of view. And I loved that. I loved having a little bit more complexity there. And I thought the story was really, really good, wrapped up well. Obviously, Infamous Second Son was a little bit of a disappointment in comparison, but yeah, fucking in terms of the variety of powers on offer, I don't think I've ever had more fun playing a superhero game than I did with Infamous 2. Coming in at number 3, it's almost shocking me just looking at it that it's number 3. That is The Last of Us. The Last of Us is number 3 on my top 10 PS3 games. That goes to show you how fucking great the library is for 7th gen consoles. But because The Last of Us to me is probably all time like a 6 or 7 of my favorite games ever. So some heavy hitters ahead of this, but Tlu 3, man, or Tlu at number 3. Tlu 3 would be nice, but Last of Us, I don't really know what I can even add to this conversation at this point. It's adapted into probably the greatest video game adaptation ever, and that's because the source material is pretty much perfection. It doesn't get much better than this from a narrative perspective. It's probably the greatest narrative that's ever been told in gaming. Those are almost like definitive things. You know what I mean? Like even if it's not my personal favorite story ever, which it's damn close, it's probably the greatest one ever told. And Naughty Dog are exceptional at. I love the Colin Moriarty quote: "The production per square inch." That's the best way to define what Naughty Dog does. They it everything to the fucking finest detail is polished to a shine, man. It's remarkable what they can do in their game worlds. Nobody else like them. So, Last of Us at number 3. A game I will expand upon greatly though is coming in at number 2. Sleeping Dogs. I want to scream from the fucking rooftops, scream from the mountaintops. This is the most underrated game ever. I don't understand how this thing didn't sell 20 million copies, 30 million copies, and be a legit Grand Theft Auto competitor, because it damn sure deserved to be. It was so ambitious and it was doing so much. It had Max Payne-esque slow down shooting as you're leaping over a table, sliding across the table, lining up a headshot, picture perfect bow, taking out an enemy, fucking getting in these car chase scenes where you're shooting at a car, the car topples over you, exploding above your head. You're in a car chase scene, jumping from your car to another, pulling a dude out of the car. Like it's so goddamn fun. The driving is arcadey and fun. The action, the Melee combat once again is very Arkham Asylum inspired, with the flow, the counter based system. Go into the dojo, learning your getting your upgrades, learning your different abilities, getting in the flow to where you almost feel like you're in a fighting game with the different button prompts that you're having to memorize in combat. Just it feels so goddamn good to play. The environmental takedowns, the weapons that are on offer, it's the story is solid. This undercover investigation that's going on, and goddamn, man, I don't understand how Sleeping Dogs didn't just sell like hotcakes. It's so good. It's better than all the other open world crime games out there. It's legitimately better than all of them, except San Andreas. Everything else, it's better than. I promise. Go play it. Number one. I don't really know how to do this, because I'm not going to do both of them on the list. So I'm just going to include them together, because here's the thing. Both of these games would be over everything else on the list. So putting them at number one's fair. If you want to say, okay, you can put them at 1 and 2, and you got to knock off The Wolf Among Us at number 10. Sure, but I think The Wolf Among Us at number 10 is solid, because it tells a real good story about the entire generation for me at large. So and how I got back into gaming in general. So number one is Mass Effect 1 and 2. This is for me. I don't think that I would, because The Wolf Among Us for sure was like, in terms of getting more into gaming in general, absolutely The Wolf Among Us was crucial for that, and then going into The Last of Us after that was crucial. But really, really getting invested into like RPGs and action RPGs and then that type of shit, because I always found RPGs to just be a little bit too tedious for me, with gear management, all that. Like I never really liked all that too much. But Mass Effect 1 and 2 laid it out perfectly for me, to where it was a very narrative heavy, once again, decision based role playing game. This epic sci-fi romp that you're going on, this adventure that you're going on with Shepard, and the cast of characters that are on offer here, with in the moments with these characters, the encounter on the beach with Rex, that's so crucial to the rest of the entire series. The fucking Ashley or Caden decision, the interaction with Sovereign for the first time, the complexity with Saren, and then that villain arc, and just world class storytelling that's all told in the span of 20-25 hours. You know what I mean? For the main narrative, it's really not that long. You can get through the main narrative much quicker than that, but like for main and side content, not much more than 25 hours or so. um it's a remarkable sci-fi adventure, and going on the second adventure being much more companion oriented, going on those companion quests and seeing where Jack comes from, and kind of relating more to her, or not necessarily relating to her, but definitely sympathizing with her. And then the Thane arc was fucking magical, and the Jacob arc with his father, those moments are just forever ingrained in my head. Mass Effect 2 was a huge improvement. The cinematic structure of the game was much improved. I think obviously the gameplay, the kind of cover based Gears of War inspired shooting was much more improved. But I do think the true role playing nature of Mass Effect 1 was a little bit more magical to me. The seeing the Citadel for the first time was a little bit more magical to me. But for sure that 1 and 2 both have to be number one on my list. 3 probably wouldn't crack the top 10, but it's still somewhere in that top. It would probably be somewhere in the top 30 PlayStation 3 games that I've ever played. I did at the very least enjoy Mass Effect 3, but 1 and 2 are both number one. I would put 1 above 2 if I had to, but they're both they both have to be number one on this list. So it's my top 10 PS3 games, man.